What happens when a bride turns her happiest day into a moment of aching remembrance? One last letter to Dad. Jung So-min's wedding day tribute leaves guests sobbing. Why were even the toughest hearts in the room silently crying? Join us now on Red Carpet Revealed as we uncover the emotional truth behind this unforgettable ceremony. The soft rustle of silk and the gentle shuffle of feet echoed through the flower-draped corridor as guests entered the sunlit ceremony hall. It was a day meant for celebration, a perfect August afternoon, where love, promises, and futures were to be exchanged. But little did anyone know that before the rings were placed, before the vows were whispered, the entire venue would fall silent, and then shatter into quiet sobs. Jung So-min, the beloved actress known for her grace and warmth both on screen and off, was finally getting married. Her radiant smile had always charmed the public, but today, it carried something deeper, an emotional weight no one could see, but everyone would soon feel. From the moment she stepped onto the aisle, dressed in a custom white gown that floated like clouds, there was an energy in the air that didn't feel like just bridal nerves. Her eyes scanned the rows of guests, not for a celebrity or a camera, but for someone who wasn't there. Her father. 2 years ago, Jung So-min lost her father to a sudden illness. He had been her rock, her mentor, and her biggest fan. He had never missed an award ceremony, a fan meeting, or even a single episode of her dramas. They used to speak every night, whether she was filming in Seoul or halfway across the country. When he passed, So-min disappeared from the spotlight for months. No one knew how deeply it had torn her apart, until now. Just before the official ceremony began, a soft instrumental version of her father's favorite song began playing. Chatter stopped. The lights dimmed. And then the projector flickered to life. What followed was not part of the planned wedding program, at least not according to the glossy brochures handed to guests at the entrance. This was something deeply personal. It had not been rehearsed, or even shared with many. As the first images appeared, family photos of a little girl with messy bangs on her father's lap. Birthdays spent blowing candles together, holidays. Mornings, there were already sniffles in the audience. And then Jung So-min's voice came through. This wasn't a speech. It was a letter. Letter to her father. A letter she had written the night before. Alone in her dressing room. In trembling handwriting. On the same stationery he used to write her good luck notes on before her big auditions. The voiceover, raw and trembling, began. Appa, if you can hear me, I hope you're proud today. I know I should be smiling, and I am, but inside, there's a chair that's still empty. Gasps and sudden hushes spread across the room. You always said you wanted to walk me down the aisle. You said you'd cry first. That you'd trip over my dress. But you're not here. And I don't know how to take this step without holding your hand. At that point, even the groom, standing at the altar, blinked back tears. Guests looked down, dabbing their eyes, overcome by the purity of the moment. This wasn't a performance. It was a farewell. A promise. A tribute. But Appa, I still feel you. I feel you in every step I take. In every deep breath I draw. You're in my heart. And today, I walk with you. You're walking me down this aisle, just in a different way. The screen faded to black. And then silence. No applause. No dramatic music cue. Just stillness. And the sound of So-min stepping out onto the aisle, holding a single white rose, the kind her father always brought her after a school performance. She walked alone. No one stood in. No celebrity uncle. No stand-in figure. Just her. She carried that silence like armor. The guests rose slowly. Some with their hands clasped to their mouths. Others openly crying. It wasn't just a wedding anymore. It had become something sacred. Something unforgettable. A daughter honoring a man who had shaped her entire life, and letting go. In the most beautiful way. Later, when the ceremony resumed, and vows were exchanged, the couple barely got through them without breaking down. Not from nervousness. From the overwhelming emotion that had filled the space just moments earlier. And when the officiant finally said, "You may kiss the bride," there was a wave of applause, but it was gentler, more reverent. As if everyone knew they had witnessed something far beyond just a union of two people. What made this moment even more powerful was the aftermath. Videos of So-min's letter spread online within hours. Fans, fellow actors, and netizens across the country shared their own stories of loss, of love, and of goodbyes. "I've never cried this much at a celebrity wedding," one wrote. "This wasn't just about love. About memory. About how grief walks with us even on our happiest days," another added. Her agency, Blossom Entertainment, later released a short statement. Jung So-min expressed her most sincere emotions in a way that touched all of us. The love she shares for her family and her late father is the very core of who she is. But beyond the public reaction, the private responses that truly mattered. Several of her close friends revealed that So-min had planned the tribute in secret for months, even working closely with a video editor to find the perfect pictures of her childhood. She had chosen every song, every frame, recorded the voiceover in a single take, refusing to redo it, because she wanted it to be raw, imperfect, and real. As the reception moved forward, the atmosphere remained thick with emotion. The guests were still reeling from the power of Jung So-min's tribute. It was no longer just a wedding, it had transformed into something much more intimate, vulnerable, and sacred. The bride herself, though glowing with love for her groom, carried a quiet dignity, as though she had just closed one of the most important chapters of her life. But the real ripple effects of her heartfelt letter began after the event ended. Late that night, a short, fan-taken clip of So-min's tribute was uploaded to social media. Within minutes, it began trending on X, formerly Twitter. Hashtags like "So-min wedding," "One last letter" touted, and "So-min tribute" dominating the top spots. The clip, less than 2 minutes long, captured her voice shaking as she said, "You always said you'd trip over my dress, Appa. It was enough." Millions watched. Millions cried. Sections were filled with messages from people who had lost their own parents, who found a part of themselves in So-min's words. "My dad 3 years ago. And I felt everything she said," wrote one. It wasn't a performance, it was a daughter's last embrace. Celebrities, colleagues, and even international fans began posting tribute messages to their own lost loved ones, tagging So-min in heartfelt posts. Korean media outlets, usually focused on glitz and glamour, responded with rare empathy. One headline read, "Jung So-min redefines what it means to love and lose on her wedding day." Another, "One letter, 1,000 tears, Jung So-min's tribute to her late father breaks the nation's heart." Her agency, Blossom Entertainment, was flooded with interview requests, but So-min declined all of them. She had no intention of turning grief into publicity. In a handwritten note posted to her fan cafe, she wrote, "To everyone who shared their tears with mine yesterday, thank you. Appa would have loved you all. And I hope he's smiling somewhere, knowing that his little girl kept her promise." That line, "kept her promise," was something she'd once shared in an older magazine interview. When asked about what she'd say to her father if she had one more day with him, she answered, "I'd tell him I'll keep going. That I'll find happiness again. And that when I walk down the aisle, he'll still be with me in every step." And she did. That weekend, news programs aired segments replaying the wedding footage, not focusing on the dress or the celebrity guest list, but on the letter. The moment had struck a universal nerve. Feeling how powerful it can be when public figures allow themselves to be human. Even several non-entertainment figures commented. Psychology professor from Seoul University wrote a piece titled, "Why Jung So-min's Tribute Moved a Nation," meaning how collective grief, especially around parental loss, often remains unspoken in Korean culture. So-min's honesty had broken that silence, and people responded. But amidst all the national attention, Min herself retreated into quiet. She and her husband left for a short, private honeymoon abroad. No paparazzi, no updates. Just time for the newlyweds to start their journey. For So-min to let her soul breathe. According to close friends, she brought her father's photo in a locket on her necklace and placed it next to her bed each night. She even brought along one of his old t-shirts. He'd turned into a sleep shirt, a small, private comfort that no media ever saw. When she returned, the healing continued. Of jumping back into TV work, she chose a different path, volunteering. So-min quietly joined a support group for young adults who had lost parents. She didn't attend as a celebrity. So-min, the older sister who understood the ache that never quite leaves, helped them write letters to their own parents, read them aloud, cried with them, hugged them. A volunteer said, "She wasn't there to be admired, there to listen. And I think her father would be so proud of the woman she's become." She finally did return to acting months later. She noticed something different. There was a deeper stillness to her performances. A grounded maturity. Her first role after marriage was in a low-budget indie film titled The Chair That Stays Empty. This story followed a woman who prepares for her wedding after losing her mother. Coincidence or fate, no one knew. But one thing was clear, her pain had transformed into art. Critics called it her best work yet. It left theaters in silence. Much like at her wedding. With tear-streaked cheeks and hearts full of reflection. The director of the film later revealed that So-min had helped write part of the script, specifically the letter the protagonist reads to her late mother. It's almost word for word the same letter she had written to her father. Back in the public eye, but never quite the same. So-min continued to honor her father in quiet ways. On his birthday, she posted only a single white rose. No caption. No hashtags. Fans knew what it meant. And every year on her wedding anniversary, she lights a candle in his name before celebrating with her husband. Because she's holding on to grief. But because she's learned that love doesn't end when someone is gone. It changes. It deepens. And for Jung So-min, it became the fuel for her greatest act of all, not as an actress, not as a bride, but as a daughter who remembered. We're touched by Jung So-min's story. We invite you to subscribe to Red Carpet Revealed. Real emotions meet unforgettable moments. Know in the comments. Have you ever written a letter to someone who is no longer here? What would you say today? We're listening.